I waited years to become a father, while she made sure it would never happen.
I thought my life was perfect. I had a long-term marriage, a stable career, and a future I believed was clearly mapped out. For years we lived in our quiet home, but as time went on, the silence where children's laughter should have been grew heavier. I'd often talk about wanting to start a family, convinced that our love and a bit of patience would make it happen. But whenever I brought it up, her answer was always the same, delivered with a calm that chilled me. She said she valued her body and her freedom more than the idea of being a mother. I chose to be patient. I told myself that time would eventually soften her heart, that she would come around, so life went on. We filled the silence with expensive trips, fancy dinners, and a comfortable routine built on quiet compromises. I tried to focus on the good things, but as the years passed, I started noticing gray hairs in the mirror. They were a stark reminder that my time wasn't infinite. The affection between us slowly faded. Hugs became awkward, touches were avoided, and an invisible wall grew between us, a distance that soon became impossible to ignore. I made excuses for her. I blamed stress from her job, hormonal changes, anything and everything except the truth that was staring me in the face. Fear began to creep in, a cold, nagging feeling that something was deeply wrong. It pushed me to schedule secret medical tests, desperate for an answer, any answer. I needed to know if the problem was with me. The results came back clear. I was healthy, fertile, and perfectly capable of being a father. That's when the doubt turned into suspicion. My instincts, which I had ignored for so long, sharpened with painful clarity. One evening, driven by a curiosity that I could no longer suppress, I found myself searching our bedroom. Tucked away in a drawer, I found them. Hidden pills. The secret to years of deception, revealed in a single, gut-wrenching moment. A wave of hot anger washed over me, mixed with disbelief. The betrayal burned deeper than anything I had ever felt. After that, everything changed. She became incredibly guarded with her phone, as if it held the keys to a secret kingdom. The secrets between us multiplied with each passing day. Then came a call from the bank, an alert about strange, significant withdrawals from our joint account. I tried to rationalize it, to make up excuses for her, choosing denial over the inevitable confrontation. But then, one afternoon, I saw it with my own eyes. I saw her step out of a young man's car, looking happier than I had seen her in years. I watched as they walked together towards a hotel, and in that instant the truth was no longer deniable. Everything clicked into place, the pills, the missing money, the emotional distance, all the lies. It was a perfect, horrifying storm. Soon after, she asked for a divorce. There was no remorse in her voice, no sadness in her eyes. She spoke of wanting her freedom, repeating the same cold words that had haunted me for years. This time, I didn't stay silent. I confronted her with the proof I had, and all the rage I had suppressed for so long came spilling out. At first, she denied everything, her voice full of false indignation. But as I laid out the evidence, piece by piece, I saw fear creep into her expression. Our marriage, a structure I had spent nearly 2 decades building, collapsed overnight. The words we threw at each other were sharp and unforgiving, designed to inflict maximum damage. Lawyers got involved, assets were divided. Wounds that I thought couldn't get any deeper were sliced open again and again. I walked away from it all feeling completely broken, but somehow not entirely destroyed. The nights were the hardest. Dark thoughts haunted my sleep, visions of what my life had become, and I barely survived them. Therapy became my lifeline. It was a slow, painful process of rebuilding myself piece by piece from the ground up. I also started training, pushing my body to its limits. Physical exercise became my sanctuary, and with every drop of sweat, I felt my strength, both physical and mental, slowly returning. A year passed. One day, I looked in the mirror and saw a different man. I was reborn, calmer, with a clarity I hadn't felt in a long time. My life had stabilized, and though my heart was guarded, a quiet belief in love somehow remained. It was around that time that a young woman came to my office for a job interview. There was something about her, a kindness in her eyes, a resilience in her spirit, and an honesty in her words that stirred something in me that I thought was long dead. Our professional relationship soon turned into long conversations, and those conversations blossomed into a genuine connection. She told me about her own life, about loss, responsibility, and the courage it took to raise a child on her own. I found myself respecting her immensely. I moved slowly, with a patience I had learned the hard way. I didn't want to rush. Eventually, we shared our feelings for each other, carefully and honestly, acknowledging the fears we both carried from our pasts. Through her, a child entered my life, a little boy who looked at me with complete trust. I welcomed the role of a father figure, and the love I felt for him grew naturally, filling a void I didn't know was so vast. Together, the three of us started to build a home, and my house was finally filled with the sound of laughter. I shared my past with her, laying bare all the wounds and the scars. She listened without judgment, with a depth of understanding that healed me in ways I can't describe. Family replaced the emptiness, and my life had a purpose again. I remember one night, her little boy had a nightmare and came to our room, frightened. I held him, promised him he was safe, and in that moment of offering comfort and protection, I felt a profound sense of love. Not long after, we took a quiet getaway, just the two of us. It was there that we decided to stop being careful and to truly build a future together. Joy arrived when we least expected it, confirmed by a positive pregnancy test. Holding it in my hand, I felt whole for the very first time in my life. We celebrated, our hearts full of hope. A few months later, our child was born. A dream I had long given up on was finally fulfilled. The love in our home expanded, shared equally between all of us, without comparison or condition. We got married, a celebration blessed by our family and friends, a union that was genuine and true. Years later, I was walking down the street when I heard a familiar voice call my name. It was her. Time had not been kind. She looked worn, tired. She spoke of regret, of loss, of illness and loneliness. I listened calmly. The anger was gone, replaced by a quiet sense of peace. She asked for another chance, suggesting we could meet in secret. I refused firmly but not cruelly. I chose the life I had built. I spoke my truth without bitterness and closed that chapter of my life for good. As I walked away, I felt lighter. My life continued, filled with laughter, family, and peace. I've tried to teach my children the values I learned through pain, honesty, resilience, and the importance of kindness. I feel no regret, only gratitude for the journey that led me here. Love, I learned, rewards patience and strength. The past will always be a part of my story, but it stays behind me, right where it belongs. I chose to move forward, always forward. Happiness wasn't my revenge, it was my survival. And now I am free, I am fulfilled, and I am finally, truly at peace. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more.